Hey everybody, welcome to episode 36 of Big Time Reality TV. My name is Andy Kirk. You guys can find me on Twitter at ccgradakirk. Check out the blog at bigtimerealitytv.blogspot.com. And today, got a very special guest. You've seen him on Big Brother Canada. You've seen him all over RHAP. It's the one and only Jordan Parhar. How are we doing, Jordan?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Glad to, I don't know what we're going to get into today. I guess lots of different stuff, but I'm excited, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, for people who aren't familiar with your podcast, I want to play the intro to your podcast real quick.
Okay, sounds good.
Love the RHAP app. That's my favorite app of all the apps I have.
It is a handy app.
Yeah, so.
Reality TV Rhappy Hour with Jordan Parhar. If you can't spell Parhar, we got RHAP.
I freaking love that song.
Yeah, Ryan Elder did a really good job with that. Big shout out to him. He's at Ryan Elder Music on Twitter. He's really good at what he does. And he reached out to me one day and said, "Hey, do you want a theme song?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I think he was like watching football, and then he just like during a halftime of a game, he just came up with that, and I was like, "That's amazing." So yeah, kudos to him.
So how's everything going?
Things are good. Yeah, I mean, I just wrapped up semesters of for my first year actually of journalism school, so that went really well. So I'm just on a break now for the summer, kind of in between seasons for Big Brother. Big Brother Canada 4 just ended. Big Brother 18 is right around the corner, so kind of just waiting for that to get going. But for now, I'm kind of just relaxing and taking some personal time because it's the last year has been so crazy busy for me. So it's good to finally just like take a second, just breathe. So yeah, things have been good.
That's good to hear. So if you guys are watching live, you guys can tweet me at ccgradakirk. If you guys got any questions for Jordan, I will definitely try to get to as many questions as possible. So the first thing I want to know is, I know you've met a lot of the Big Brother US. Do you guys, do you know what the big similarities and differences are between like how you get on the show and how the shows are, like casting wise?
For US and Canada?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would say like I mean, the casting director is the exact same for the U.S. and Canada. Robin Cass she helps really, she's the gatekeeper of dreams, if you will. She's the person who kind of really finds everybody and puts them in front of the executives of CBS in the U.S. and Global in Canada. So, I mean, from that regard, it's pretty much the exact same. The process is pretty similar. You can apply, and then if if they like you, they call you for a semifinal interview, which is kind of like a one-on-one interview for about like 30 minutes or so. And then if that goes well, then they call you to finals, and then that lasts for, if you're in the US, it lasts about a week. And Robin and all the casting people at CBS talk to you, and that's kind of like a pretty intense thing. And then in Canada, it's a similar thing. In terms of like the differences, though, I would say like in Canada, there's a lot more diversity within the casts. They tend to cast way more ethnic people or people of different backgrounds, whereas in the U.S., it's pretty much always like attractive, white people. That's pretty much really like that's a huge demographic of what they cast. Whereas if you look at Canada, we've had so many different kinds of people represented on the show. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between the two shows. I think the executives in Canada and the executives in the US are both kind of looking for different things. And Robin kind of tailors her casting to that style.
Now, I know you have a lot of people that you know from Big Brother US. Do you guys compare your guys' casting experiences and what it's like?
I haven't actually really talked to too many US people about their personal casting experience. I mean, I'm familiar with some of them through Dan Giesling's podcast, the How to Get on Reality TV podcast. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I really recommend you check that out. But no, I haven't really talked too much to too many people. I have had some conversations, but for the most part, it's pretty similar.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, when you found out you were going to be on Big Brother February or March of last year, what was your initial reaction? Were you excited? Were you anxious?
Yeah, a little bit of everything for sure. I mean, it's definitely the excitement factor was there. I've been a Big Brother fan since I was 7. So when I was 21 last year, so it was like 14 years of watching the show. And that was like huge for me. It was a huge dream of mine, and to finally get that validation of being able to get on the show, it meant so much to me. So yeah, it was super thrilling and exciting. Definitely, I was a little anxious a little bit because leaving your life for 3 months to go live in a house with a bunch of crazy people is not, it's not the most ideal thing you want to go do. But at the same, and also too, I was scared as we first out and all this kind of stuff. But no, it worked out well for me, and didn't really turn out the way I planned, but it certainly could have gone worse. And I had a lot of fun with the experience, and I really couldn't ask for anything else.
Yeah, I definitely saw that. Your season and a little bit of BB2, I watched a little bit of that. BB Can too, and those are the only Canada seasons to watch. I didn't really watch much of the last season because being in the U.S., it's kind of hard to watch it live, and then when it comes on YouTube, there's always commercial breaks in between. It's always very all over the place, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's tough. I get it. Yeah, the U.S. It's that's one thing I wish that Canada did a better job at was, and I get why they do it because they have advertisers in Canada that pay to have their ads shown only in Canada. So that's a big reason why they kind of just restrict it to the Canadian public. And that's why it's so hard to watch in the US. But it's unfortunate because I think this season was better than season 3. One of the I would probably say it was the second or third best Big Brother Canada season. But all of them have been pretty good so far, which is really, I'm sure they're thrilled about that because a lot of Canadian reality TV shows have been flops over the past decade or so. So, we'll see how the next season goes. I haven't heard yet if it's going to be renewed, but should find out pretty quickly if they announce that or not.
Mm-hmm. So going into the house, there was a video from Ian Terry about Big Brother 14 when he won Big Brother 14. He was like, "I had a strategy. I did this, this, and this." Did you have any game plans going into the house, be in alliance with this person, being form a showmans, which you ended up doing on BB Can? I know you don't want to talk about that, but
yeah, no, for sure. In terms of my strategy was actually I told casting that I wanted a showmance because I was kind of portraying this character to get on the show because I knew that just normally me as who I am, I felt like I wasn't interesting enough to get on the show. I kind of had to tailor how I was in the process to get on the show, and I got lucky that it worked out. But no, I did not. I told them I wanted a showmance. I did not want a showmance because I knew that would put a target on my back, and ultimately that did screw me over. But it's a long story with how that happened. But things happen in the house, and in terms of my strategy going, and my strategy was just to get to know people really well on a personal level and try to build strong personal relationships with people because Big Brother is a social game. And if you have those strong relationships, that's really going to carry you forward in the game. And I felt like I had that for the first month. The problem was that, I got too caught up in, I had too many relationships. That was the problem. I had no enemies and I wasn't, I was trying to play all the sides of the house, and that's just too hard to juggle when you're trying to do that. So I think that's kind of what ultimately did me in a little bit. And also to Cindy coming back, I think having that information, that certainly didn't really help either. But yeah, that was basically the gist of my strategy. And I also wanted to try to keep big threats around as much as I wanted and to have a big target in front of me. So that's why I aligned with Zach, because I thought, okay, well, if I'm ever on the block with Zach's going home every single time over me because there's no debate. He's huge. He's 6'4". I'm 5'9". He's way bigger than I am. He's stronger than I am. He's way more physically imposing. So, that was part of my strategy. People did find Zach more threatening, and I'm sure if we went on the block together, he would have gone home over me. But, the circumstances that happened, I never really would have predicted that's how I would have gone out. But, it happens. It's all part of Big Brother. You got to expect the unexpected.
Absolutely. That's the motto.
Mm-hmm.
So going into the house, you see all your housemates, house guests lined up. Were there was Zach and Kevin, were they the two that you wanted to align with, or was there somebody that wasn't seen on the show that you initially was like, oh, I want to align with that person?
As soon as I saw, because we were in the first group, so I saw the whole first group right away. We were backstage, and then production told us I kept looking over at everyone, but they keep you in a line, and they have a handler with you, and they don't want you looking at who's there. But I saw Zach right away, and as soon as I saw Zach, I wanted to work with him because he was big guy. I figured, okay, this is a good person to put in front of me. I wanted to get to know him a little bit first, but that first night we kind of had a lot of time to talk. Like with that first group, we had probably about an hour or so together with just like the first 6 people in the house. So yeah, he was somebody I really wanted to align with. Sarah and I really hit it off as well, Sarah Hanlon, and we did have an alliance while we were in the house as well, which wasn't really showed on the show too much. Kevin, I didn't really want to align with Kevin right away. Nothing really. Kevin, I just felt like how him and I became aligned was that I didn't have a good read on Kevin. I had no idea what he was up to. I knew he was hiding something, which he was. He was a poker player. He was telling us how he was unemployed. But he just seemed kind of fishy. So Zach and I talked about that, and I said, hey, look, why don't I just try to become really good friends with him, and we can try to rope him in and bring him in and figure out what his deal is. And sure enough, me talking to Kevin and trying to get really close to him really helped. And Kevin asked me to be in the Fortress on day 5 because of that. And, ever since then, we were in alliance together. Now, as I came to realize while I was in the house that I actually had a lot more in common with Kevin than I did with Zach. But, when you're in there, it's confusing. You don't really know everything that's going on. And I felt like I had a really strong bond with Zach too, but it was definitely Kevin and I certainly had a stronger bond in there. And I would say on the outside, that's definitely the same as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely tell because that's probably you. I see when you have them on your podcast, Reality TV Rhappy Hour. Rob has a website. Check it out. He just did a BB Can think tank the other day. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Definitely need to check that out. Overall, your experience on Big Brother Canada 3 was a good one.
Yeah, definitely a good experience. I mean, was it everything did I get everything I wanted out of it? No, like everybody wants to win, right? And I didn't want to be, I have this reputation now as making this terrible move and being, one of the weaker players in the history of the show. And that's not something that I expected to get out of it. But at the same time, I've come to embrace it. I had fun with it, and I don't really take it's a game, right? I don't really take any of that stuff too seriously. So yeah, in terms of the relationships and everything that I've gotten out of it, it certainly was worth it. And I couldn't ask for anything else. It was really got everything I wanted out of it. I'm back in my real life, and I still talk about Big Brother, I still do a podcast about Big Brother, but it hasn't really consumed my life, which is really great because for some people they kind of struggle with that when they get out. So it's been great.
That's good. That's good to hear. I'm glad. I love talking to reality TV stars, seeing what goes on in their world. I've done a bunch of challenge interviews in the past, and I've been able to actually speak with you on your show during Survivor Cambodia. So it's definitely a lot of cool talking to reality stars. People don't realize that they're not that you guys aren't celebrities. You guys are normal people, just like me.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, some reality TV people don't really realize that yet. But, I mean, even the term reality star, I wouldn't say I'm a reality star. I would say I was a reality TV contestant, but I wouldn't say I'm a star. I would say a star is a reality star to me is like Kim Kardashian or one of the housewives of Orange County or something like that, because they don't really they're not playing a game or anything, but people still follow them around because they're interested in their lives. So, yeah, certainly – a lot of for the most part, especially in Canada, I mean, everybody's just pretty chill about it. And we're just regular people. We just happened to get on a TV show once, so we got really lucky. And that's kind of how I feel about the situation.
So transitioning in from your experience to Big Brother Canada to how you got on RHAP, why don't you tell us how you got in touch with Rob? I know you were on a bunch of his voicemails prior to getting in the house, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. So the first interaction I had with Rob was, I started listening to RHAP back in 2011. So during Survivor South Pacific. So it's coming up on 5 years now. That was in the fall of 2011. And I was a big fan. I always leave comments and stuff like that and whatever. And then, when the voicemail show came out, I'd always leave voicemails and that kind of stuff. And then it's the fall of 2012. So the next year, it was Big Brother 14 and just wrapped up. Dan Giesling was on Rob's podcast. And so Rob used to do his show on Spreecast. So you could call in and talk to the person who was on. Yeah. So I called in because it was Dan was on, and it was Dan and Rob, and I was like, oh my god. At the time, Dan was like my idol. He was like my favorite player ever at the time. I just like loved him so much, and I still love Dan. But I just because he was fresh off 14, he was just like so fresh in the memory, right? So I went on there and I talked to Rob, and that was like really fun. I really liked that a lot. And then I think after that, Rob followed me on Twitter, and then I tried out for Big Brother Canada 1. And I hadn't heard, sent it a tape and I didn't hear anything back. So I was like, okay, like I thought my tape was good and it wasn't. So I was like, okay, I should try to like figure out what I, need to do with this. So I messaged Rob and I said, hey, do you mind if I could, you could take a look at my tape and maybe we talk about this. And Rob used to do, I don't know if he still does. He's probably too busy now, but he used to do consulting for people who want to get on reality TV. So you would pay Rob a fee and then he would watch your tape with you and go over everything. So he did that with me that fall. And then I kind of worked on my tape. I worked on my tape from there. I applied for the Amazing Race Canada. My friend and I almost got on. We almost made the final round. So like I kept Rob in touch for all that. And so ever since like then, I kind of had just been in touch with Rob about my casting experience. So I told him a bit about Big Brother Canada 2 because I was a finalist for that season. And after the finals, actually did the same thing. Rob and I chatted about like my strategy going in, and we kind of just talked about like, okay, what to do and that kind of stuff. I didn't get on the season, so that was kind of disappointing for me. But so we had kind of like every year or so we'd kind of talk or whatever. And then fast forward, I get on Big Brother Canada 3. Rob knows who I am. He talks about me on the podcast, and then I would shout him out all the time in the house. And I used to do these podcasts in the house on the live feeds. I would, so I would host a roundtable. We talk about Big Brother, we talk about Survivor, all these things, like kind of just doing a knockoff of RHAP. And a lot of the live feed viewers like hated it, and they were like so mad at me for doing it. But I thought Rob found it, I think, kind of cool that I was doing that. So he saw that, and I guess when I got out, he was like, "Hey, like I saw those podcasts you did on the feeds. Do you and Kevin want to do a podcast together?" So I said, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do a podcast. And Kevin was like, okay, well, like, I don't know 100% if I want to do this yet or not. I don't know if I want to commit. So ultimately Kevin decided not to commit. So originally the Happy Hour would have been me and Kevin together, but just didn't work. Kevin's a really busy guy. So with his poker career and stuff like that, he just didn't really work out. So I started doing the podcast last June, I think it was, like late June, like right before Big Brother 17. We did a preseason draft with myself, Godfrey, and Neha for my season. And the rest was history. I've been doing it pretty much every week. I've been doing a show a week ever since. And it's been a lot of fun. Rob is a great guy to partner with. He's given me a lot of really good advice over the past year. I've learned a lot of stuff, and I'm so lucky that he scooped me up, because if he didn't scoop me up, I don't know what I really would have done.
You could have done what I do for fun. I mean, I do.
It's true. But I mean, I think it would have been different. It's tough. It's tough launching your own thing. I mean, it's helped me a lot. Like, I could have done that, but I had, I got a built-in audience. I got a bunch of, traffic to the podcast and everything just because I was associated with Rob. So Rob's helped me out so much with that, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today as a podcaster if it wasn't for him.
Which is great. I love that. I've been a fan of RHAP since 2014. I've told you this story before, but I haven't said it on my official podcast. Brian Cohen, Bus Driver's Route, was doing his own thing. I had him on my podcast a bunch of times, and I saw that he was going to be on the Challenge Wrap Up. So I've been watching RHAP ever since. It got me into Big Brother, Survivor, Amazing Race, the whole 9 yards, and it's good stuff. Like, he has great contact. If you guys haven't checked it out, Rob has a website.com. And what I want to know, Jordan, is being a podcast host now, and being a former house guest for a former reality TV show contestant, do you watch the show differently, and what in certain aspects, and how do you watch this show now than what you did before you were on a reality show?
That's a really good question. I mean, I would say that I certainly do. I think everybody who comes off of, I think there's two ways you got to look at it, right? If you're podcasting about something, you gotta, you can't just watch it. You have to really pay close attention to every single thing. You want to take, I take notes, all that kind of stuff. So like, from that perspective, things have changed for me. And also too, as a former contestant, definitely. I think that it changes your outlook on things. You see people and how they're edited and portrayed on the show. And yeah, you know, sometimes it may seem like someone is very unlikable or they're not the most rootable character on the show, but it also, like, when you've been there, you realize, oh wait, I've been in that person's position before. I've been somebody that people hated on or didn't like because I was edited in a certain light. So I would say that's probably the biggest way in how I look at it differently, is that I give I give people a lot more breaks, and I'll still like make fun of people on Twitter and stuff like that. But like on a personal level and just watching it, you know, I don't hold any ill will to anybody in terms of what they do or say in the Big Brother Canada house for the most part, just because, you know, it's so tough being in there, and I've lived through it, and I get it. Like I've been in that position before, and you know, that's one of those things you can't really grasp what it's like unless you're actually in there and then you've actually played it. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely know where you're coming from as far as from the podcasting standpoint, because you want to be fair, but at the same time, you don't want to act like you're not disliking a certain player. If you dislike a certain player, you gotta let it be known to an extent.
It's a fine line. It really is. It's tough to, you know, because you don't want to be too easy on everyone, because then it's like, okay, well, this is kind of boring, but at the same time, you don't want to be an asshole just for the sake of being an asshole. So it's kind of like you kind of got to just keep it real, but then also you know, maybe more so like criticize people in terms of game stuff, but not, you know, personal things or anything like that. And yeah, sometimes you got to give people a break, especially if that same person is just getting a ton of hate the entire time that they're on the show.
Yeah. So out of all the podcasts you've done in the past year, do you have like 2 or 3 favorites that you've done?
Oh man, that is super hard. I honestly haven't even thought about that before. I would say my favorite podcast that I've done, I would say the OC podcast with Eric Stein. That's in the top 3. I did a podcast with Godfrey Manguiza right before Big Brother Canada 4, where we went through his game from start to finish. And it was about like 2.5 hours that we talked about. The OC one was 5 hours, by the way, which is, I think, the longest podcast in the history of any RHAP podcast. But the Godfrey one, that one was about 2.5 hours. We talked about his game. We talked about his life growing up in Zimbabwe. I think that might be the best podcast that I ever did, just because Godfrey was so good in what he was talking about, and he just is so knowledgeable when it comes to the game, and just hearing about his strategy and how he really ran through that game so he just did such a great job. So, and he's a master of the game. He really is. So that was a really fun one. And then I guess the other one that I did, I mean, I've done a lot of ranking shows and stuff like that. There's a ton of fun ones that we did. But you know what? I think like this one is just like kind of an obscure one, but right before Big Brother 17 ended, I did a podcast with Mike Bloom. It was before the finale, and we just previewed the finale. And Mike Bloom, I just love Mike Bloom, and that was like just such a fun podcast that we did together. And I can't if I'm thinking about the most fun I've had doing a podcast, that's got to be in the top 3, just because we went through the whole, you know, all the players in the jury and the final, final 3 at that point. And we were just making all these crazy references and stuff like that, and he's hilarious. So yeah, I would say that the Mike Bloom one from BB17, that's also in the top 3 for me. So yeah, so Godfrey, Eric Stein talking about the OC, and Mike Bloom.
Yeah, I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of the episodes of BB8 up till this morning because of the marathon on CBS.
No, actually, I have not been keeping up with the marathon, but I've seen BB8 I think 4 or 5 times, so I'm pretty familiar with it.
Yeah, I watched a live stream. I haven't watched much of the live stream because there's like more important things than the live stream. Like my Warriors got the calendar right there. Moved on.
That's right.
Sorry about your Raptors. You a Raptors fan?
No, actually, I hate the Raptors, so don't worry. I'm even worse than a Raptors fan though. I'm a Sixers fan. So there you go. But no, congrats to the Warriors. They did a great job, and I hope they win the title because it's been really fun watching them play this season.
Yeah. Well, going back off the question I just asked you, another thing I want to know is I know I have certain people that I want to talk that I haven't to yet. Is there somebody from Big Brother, Survivor, any show from that matter that you want to talk to that is on your wish list?
Yeah. That's so hard. I mean, Eric Stein was the biggest one for me, and then I got Eric, and then after that, I was just like, okay, I'm good. So, I mean, there's not really anybody that I'm like dying to have on. I mean, I would love to have, realistically, I don't think I'd be able to get him, but I'd love to have Dan Giesling on the podcast. I think that would be really fun. Danielle Reyes would be a really good one. I would love to talk to her maybe at some point. Um, Other people from Big Brother, there's nobody really else too much that I'm clamoring for, just because when it comes to podcasting, I mean, like it's tough because you want to make sure that you when you're doing these recaps, you want to have people who can also like talk about the game and are paying attention to the season. And a lot of Big Brother alumni they kind of just focus on their own season, and that's kind of it. So yeah, in terms of those two from BBUS. For Survivor, I will never have him on the podcast just because he comes on RHAP already, and he'd have no reason to come on my podcast. But I'm a huge fan of Boston Rob Mariano, so I would love to talk to Boston Rob someday.
A couple times this past week.
Yeah, I love Boston Rob. So talking about, I mean, that's more so though, just like me meeting him and talking to him. I don't need to really have him on the podcast. Other than that, that's probably about it. I mean, we hear from everyone else already pretty much on RHAP. So, it's mainly the Canada people that I guess I really have to focus on getting that Rob normally might not be able to get, because that's kind of my in. So in terms of that, I guess Cass from this past season, Big Brother Canada 4, that's the only main one that I would really like to talk to. But yeah, that's about it.
Speaking of Cass, one of my favorite interviews that you done was the one with Robin Cass.
Oh, really? Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah,
that was a really good podcast. She really got into how everything happened with this past season and her opinions on the certain cast members, and it was a good podcast.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, Robin did a really good job. I love Robin. She's the best in the biz for a reason, and that was a fun podcast. She had some different takes than I thought she would have, but that made for a good podcast. I found that to be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then another podcast that Rob did that I unfortunately only listened to a little bit was, what did you think of his interview with Larissa?
That I thought was amazing. I think that's one of the better podcasts that Rob has done in 2016. It's a really, really fun podcast. Larissa, you can tell, is a huge fan of Big Brother, and she's really into it. And that's really refreshing and exciting to see, because I don't think we get the same thing out of Julia Chen in the U.S. So, I'm a huge Arissa Cox fan. So I was a big supporter of that podcast, and she shouted me out a couple times, which I was surprised. I had no idea that she listened to my show during the season. So that was really, really nice of her to do that. So yeah, Arissa's great, and that was a great interview. So if you haven't checked it out, highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm. So other things that you've done on RHAP and Big Brother, I know you've met a lot of Big Brother U.S. and Big Brother Canada alumni. Who are some of your favorites that you've met that you haven't had on the podcast?
Oh, favorites that I've met that I haven't had on the podcast.
I know you've met Donnie.
Yeah, Donnie would be up there in terms of having on the podcast, because I love Donnie. Like, Donnie is so fun. He's such a cool guy. He's super nice. So yeah, he helped me, the night I got evicted, he was on the sideshow, and then I hung out with him at Reality Rally in April. So Donnie's a really cool guy. In terms of other people that I am friends with that I would like to, or that I've met from the alumni that I would like to have the podcast that I haven't, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be fun to have like someone like, I haven't met this guy, but I've talked to him a lot. I think Steve Moses would be a fun guy to have on. I think Johnny Mack would be a fun guy to have on. From Canada, I've never had him on the podcast, and I talk about him pretty much every single podcast, so people make fun of me all the time for it. But the Greg Merritt, the Ginger Ninja, I've never had him on the podcast. Yeah, I've never had Greg on the podcast, so maybe we'll do something this summer or something like that. But yeah, Greg's a really funny character. He's a good dude, so I'd like to have Greg on the show. Other than that, in terms of people that I've met, nobody really that I haven't had on. Most people that I've met from the community, I've had them on in some way, shape, or form. At least in terms of Big Brother, not necessarily Survivor people. Yeah, no, I've been lucky. I've had a lot of really great people on the podcast, and I'm sure there are people that I'm missing. But this is just off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to try and add some more people, hopefully, that I haven't had on already. If I can't this summer, then do some long form interviews with them in the fall or something like that, or have them on during BB Can 5.
Yeah, absolutely. So last thing I want to know, then we'll play like a quick little rapid fire. Outside of Big Brother and Survivor, I know you watched a lot of reality TV. What other shows are you watching that you'd be like, oh, maybe I'll cover that in an episode? I know you did a podcast of American Idol retrospective. You've done 90 Day Fiance. I haven't watched the show, but I'm sure it's a goodie.
Yeah,
it's like up to podcasting. I know you've been on Bachelor. You've been on the Bachelor Bachelorette podcast a bunch of times.
Yeah, that one is probably like number one for me. Like if I had like in a perfect world, I would podcast about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette every single week. But Amy and Haley do such a good job with that, and I don't want to step on their toes, so I kind of just let them take over with that. Other than that, I mean, there's no real show. Like those are really the main shows that I watch. I watch Big Brother, I watch Survivor, and I watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Those are the main reality shows I watch. I have watched a bunch of like very obscure reality shows in the past and things like that. But in terms of what I'm watching right now, those are really the main things, just because right now my life has just been, like I said earlier, the past year's just been so crazy busy for me. I just haven't really had a ton of time to explore other shows. I did used to watch The Challenge pretty frequently. I haven't been watching it. I guess in the past year, I haven't really watched much of The Challenge, which is too bad because it is a really fun show. Yeah, that's about it off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is, I know you got to take off in about maybe 10 minutes. So what I want to do is I want to give you like random categories that I want. First thing that comes to mind, rapid fire.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
Most underrated Big Brother U.S. player.
Oh man, U.S. player, most underrated. I'll say Jason Guy from Big Brother 3.
I like that one. What about most underrated season of Big Brother U.S.?
Of Big Brother U.S., most underrated season. Ooh. Most underrated season. So I guess that would have to be a season that I like, that not really necessarily a ton of people like. I would say that, as much like, I would say probably Big Brother 12. I think that's one that doesn't really come to mind for a lot of people when they think of good seasons, but there were a lot of really good characters on that season, and it holds up better on a binge watch just because, the Brigade just dominated that season. So the summer that was out, it was a little bit boring. But it was entertaining, and, it was fun. We had Brittany that season, Brennan and Rachel, the Brigade. There was a lot of characters that came from that one. So yeah, give me BB12.
Yeah, I would have said a season that I actually just finished watching about a week ago, Big Brother 5. I just watched that for the first time, watched it all the way through. I love that season.
Yeah, that's one. I mean, for sure, 5 and 4 don't really get a ton of love, but I do think that those are really good seasons, and that was a fun era of the show. And those seasons are better, I think, than the common seasons we see these days. Another season that's underrated, I would say, as well, is Big Brother 15. I think that one got a really bad rap just because of what was going on at the time. But if you look back at it, I think 15 was a really fun season. It had a really lot of fun characters as well.
Yeah, I love the CBS All Access thing. I mean, people just use it for the feeds, but I watch old seasons of Big Brother, Survivor. I just got done watching Redemption Island. Oh, that was a boring season.
Yeah, it's a boring season. It is.
Boston Rob owned that game, though, which made it better than boring.
Yeah, at the time for me, like I was the biggest Boston Rob fan, so I enjoyed that season while it was on, but I don't think I could ever bring it to myself to rewatch it.
That's why I'm kind of hesitant to watching One World, because I've heard One World is kind of.
Yeah, it's One World is kind of similar, but yeah, you can binge it. It's not too bad.
Yeah. Who was your Big Brother US crush?
Oh man, Big Brother US crush before, like now or before I was on Big Brother?
Nah, both.
Both, okay. Before I was on Big Brother US crush was Nicole Franzel from 16. Now I would say, I'm trying to think who it would be. I guess I would probably still go Nicole Franzel from 16. There's not too many. Yeah, no, I'd say Nicole. Nicole's really cute. She's funny. I really enjoyed watching her on the show. So yeah, give me Nicole.
I'd go that same season, but I'd go Brittany Martinez.
That's fair. Yeah, Brittany's a very beautiful woman.
Gorgeous. She went way too soon.
Yeah,
like she wasn't gonna win, but like I feel like she could have gone a little bit further had she not.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Done what she did to Cody what she said to Cody the week she got booted.
For sure.
Yeah. Most overrated Big Brother U.S. player.
Oh geez. Most overrated Big Brother player in the U.S. Oh man, that is really hard.
There's a lot of them.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on like what you're thinking. Like, I would say that like someone like, in my opinion, somebody like see, I don't want to be a dick and throw anyone under the bus, but yeah, oh man, that's hard. I mean, I would say probably just because I'm a huge Eric Stein fan. I have the utmost respect for this guy, but I think just because of how, the twists and what happened on his season and how it was really, to me at least, it seemed like production really helped him out. I would say that Evil Dick is overrated just because he got if there was no Eric, if there was no twist there, I don't think he wins that season without those set of circumstances. I think Dick is a good player. I just don't think he's one of the greatest players of all time.
Mm-hmm. I know you ranked the winners. Who's better, Dr. Will, Dan Giesling?
Sorry, not Dan Giesling. Dr. Will Kirby is the best winner of all time. He's the best player in the history of the game.
I haven't watched Big Brother 2 yet, but from how he played Big Brother All-Stars, even though he didn't win, he definitely should have won.
Yeah, he should have won. He played that game was amazing. Dr. Will is the best player ever.
The episode that was on yesterday when before I went to work on the marathon was when it was Janelle just won POV. I don't remember what competition it was, and Danielle got put out as a replacement, and they're getting everybody being like, "Oh, you're a part of Chilltown. You're a part of Chilltown."
Chicken George gets in Chilltown. Yeah, that was fun.
And then it was the same episode Neil Patrick Harris was on.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah. I know you've ranked all the seasons. Best season you still think is All Stars?
Yeah, Big Brother All-Stars was the best season ever because of Dr. Will and Mike Boogie. I think that was just so fun. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely the top for me. 10 is close behind. 10 was a really good one. And I really liked 3 as well. Big Brother 3 was a really good season.
Was it? Because I'm kind of hesitant watching that season because I know the veto was kind of like, it's not what it is now.
Yeah, it's a little different. But Daniel Reyes and Jason Guy, I mean, just played such a good game, and there was a lot of fun characters on that season. So yeah, I liked season 3. I would recommend you watch it.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think what other ones. Best player to never win, still Eric Stein.
Eric Stein, yep.
I don't know. I was kind of like when I heard that, I was like, okay. I'm not gonna lie, Jordan. I thought it was a little bit RHAP bias there.
Well, okay. Well, who do you think is the best player to never win?
Probably Vanessa or Danielle.
See, that's fair. I think that those 3 are kind of in their own, a tier of their own. But I think that, you look at what Eric did, considering that he had the America's player hindrance on him the entire game, and that he couldn't play his own game, and he still finished 5th. I think that's pretty amazing. And I think if he was to go on any season, even now, like if he was going with All-Stars, I think Eric would win. I believe in him that much. He's such a brilliant guy and amazing player. And yeah, I'll admit I am biased because I know Eric and he's my friend, but I still think he's great. No, that's just how I see it. But yeah, Vanessa and Daniel Reyes are great players as well.
Speaking of All-Stars, BB Can rapid fire question. Most likely BB Can 3 house guest to win a feature season.
Godfrey Manguiza, not even close.
Yeah.
Godfrey. If there's an All-Stars and Godfrey's on it, I think Godfrey will win. I think Godfrey is the best player in the history of Big Brother Canada. So yeah, give me Godfrey.
Does he do the same strategy, not do anything the first few weeks, and then
Well, I've asked him this, and Godfrey said he'd have to change it up. So I think he would change it a little bit, and that's the thing with him is he's a big physical guy. So I mean, if he had to win, he could win. But at the same time, I kind of think he would definitely keep it up with some of the elements that took him really far in Big Brother Canada 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last question, then I'll let you go.
Okay.
Last rapid fire question. If BB18 is all stars, from what I've been hearing, it's going to be half and half, maybe. Who is the one that you'd most likely want to see on BB18?
Like which former player?
Yeah, I'll get. How about we'll do one of each, one guy and one girl.
One guy, one girl. So this is who I think will be on the cast, or who I want on the cast.
How about we do both?
Okay. So 2 people, if it's all stars, and there are a male and a female. If it's who I want to be on it, I would say in terms of males, Eric Stein, because I think he deserves a second shot and he should play again. But I don't think he'll probably get that chance, which is really unfortunate. Eric Stein or Matt Hoffman, I think those 2 would be really fun to see again. And then in terms of the females who I would like to see, females that I would like to see play again. I think it would be really fun to see Nicole. I think, like, again, I said I would really like Nicole, but even just regardless of me having a crush on her, I think Nicole played a good solid game, and she was entertaining to watch on the show. So I think she deserves another shot. In terms of who I think they will ask, I think they will definitely ask from Big Brother 17. I think Johnny Mac will get the call if they're going to have some returning players. Johnny Mac or Donnie from 16. I think those 2 are pretty much shoo-ins, I think, if they're going to have people back in terms of guys. And then in terms of females, I would say Vanessa Russo. I think Vanessa deserves another shot. I think she played a great game last summer, and I think that they will definitely give her a call, and if she wants to play, she can go play. So yeah, give me those guys.
I don't know. Like, I would definitely want to see Vanessa back, but I don't think it would be this summer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're wrong. Yeah, maybe it's too soon. I don't know, but I mean, we heard
17. We saw it was my first season of Feeds, and she was a wreck.
She was a wreck, but I mean, Vanessa.
I don't think so.
Vanessa's a gamer, though, so I mean, I feel like she'd do it. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe she says no, and if Vanessa says no, and all these other people are saying no, then I don't know if you want to do Big Brother 18 as all stars, and maybe if I was production, I'd just go all new players, and then hopefully just go all out all stars next summer, and then just get a better cast that way. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely. So, Jordan, I definitely want to thank you for coming on. We definitely got to do this again. I know I've reached out to Alex Kidwell. I'm definitely going to be doing something with Alex Kidwell once Big Brother starts. And love the work that you've been doing on RHAP, man. Keep it up.
Thanks. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And, yeah, let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, where could people follow you on the interwebs?
I'm at Jordan Parhar on pretty much every social media platform. So just follow me. I'm at Jordan Parhar. And you want to check out the podcast, you can go to robhaswebsite.com/RHAPY Hour. That's happy hour with an R at the front.
Now, I know you told me off air. Do you want to give a little sneak peek of a future podcast you're doing coming up?
Yeah, sure. So this Sunday we'll be doing a preview for Big Brother 18. So Alex Kidwell, Taryn Armstrong, Brett Waldma, and myself, we will be trying to project what Big Brother 18 would look like if it was all stars in terms of who we think CBS would pick. So not necessarily who we want, but who we think CBS would ask. So already started looking at some of the names, and we've talked about some of those names just earlier, but it's tough to project. It really is. The pool, I think, is pretty thin in terms of who they would have back, just because I think they wouldn't go pre-All-Stars. I think they would only take people from the last like 3 or 4 seasons or so. So it might be a little bit of an interesting show, but yeah, check it out if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll definitely catch you soon. Have a good one, guys.